Hello, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good morning, depending on where you are watching this video and where and the time that is there. Welcome everyone, welcome anyone who's watching this class live today. And if you are watching the replay, welcome to you as well. It's a pleasure to be here. I hope I can bring you some learning today, some new stuff that you were not aware yet. And hopefully we can learn from each other. So this class is about teaching a little bit of automation in Excel and mostly using Power BI or VBA. In a lot of solutions, I end up using a little bit a combination of both. Let me know if you can hear me well on the chat so that I can start the class knowing that I am reaching out to you in good conditions. We have there is always a little bit of delay. I know that I have to wait for your answers because it takes a little bit of time from the moment I speak until the moment you can finally hear me. So if you can just give me some feedback so that I know that you can hear me well, then we can start the class. Hello, good evening from Portugal. Thank you. Thank you, Nuno. Thank you for the feedback. It's great to have you here, and thank you for joining and for giving me notice that I am arriving well over there. Thank you. So let's start. This class is in fact a continuation of the class last live. It was last week, I think on Thursday, a few days ago. And in that class, we built the first solution of the automation for a specific case scenario. For those of you who were not in that class, or even for those of you who were, but it's good to remember where the stage where we finished, we ended our building our solution that time. Let's just show where we ended and then we will go from there. So give me just a little, let me just here some time to put my files in place and be able to share the screen with you. And I'm looking to the side, I can see your comments there, and just switching my screens here. So let's try this mode, and then if it is too small for you, let me know, and then I can make the screen a little bit bigger, okay? Speaking of that, I need to bring up my tool, Zoom it, maybe, in case we need it for... No, it's not going to happen. I changed I created a new session here on my computer and didn't prepare Zoom it. Okay, that's good. Let's try. We can have this other option. Okay, not sure if it's going to work, but okay, let's return. So okay, so let's start then. Last week or last class, we were looking at a situation where we had some sales reports coming every month. In a certain folder, someone receives, let's imagine we are working on this and we receive every month one report. This report comes, in fact, in a CSV file format. And I opened the file. Let me bring the file here so that you can see it and remember what we had. This file comes with only 4 columns and gives us a date, a code for the employee, the sales representative, a code for the product, and the quantity sold. And that's it. And each each report is for a month. So in this case, is March report. And we are asked to produce separate reports, one for each store manager. And we also have this file where we had some lists related to the company. So in one sheet here, we had employee names. This is the employee code that we see in that column of the sales report, indicating the sales representative code. We have some information, including the location where the employee is working. And I think that from this file is pretty much what we need, this table. Then we have another table here where we have a list of stores, some information about the stores, including the store manager. And we want to send the reports to these store managers. Let me, in fact, make this, sort these alphabetically. And we also have a list of products, and each product has a code. And we have some information about the code, the product, color, size, what product it is, and then we have the price. So the information that we need to put together for each one of the managers, that is, we need to combine what comes in the sales report with the other pieces of information that we have on separate tables, and create a report for each sales manager, for each store manager, saying, in your store, here is the list of sales made during the month of March. So there's a little bit of work that we need to do. And I would like you to imagine is what kind of work this would give someone if that person needs to do it. Imagine it was you. How much work would you have to do if you had to do this task every month? And there's different ways you could go about it, but imagine which steps you would choose to take if you were going to create these reports manually, one for each store manager. Okay. Let's close the file. I hope you can remember the situation that we explored last time at this point. Let's also look at the sales generator file that we built last time. We created some queries with Power Query. To see those, and for those who are less used to Power Query still, so what I did was, let me put a little bit smaller maybe. I came here to the Data tab and click this button, Queries and Connections. I am using Excel for Microsoft 365. If you are using a version that is not the most current one, maybe Excel 2018, 2016 or 19, or even before that, your tools may be presented a little bit different than mine. Mines are here in the ribbon. So queries and connections for the Excel 2016, I think it says queries and then it says connections separate on another button, if I'm not mistaken. If we click this, we get this pane here on the side, and we built this the previous live class. So if you were not in that class and you are interested in not learning how we did this, just go to that video just before this one. I will make sure that after the live is complete today, we will put the information for that class on the video description as well. And what we did here was we created a few queries. So we created a query that goes and grabs the data from the sales report. And you see here that it's saying it's a connection only. It's coming, it's just a second, it's going to the other window. Let me bring this to you here. Okay. Let me put this in a size that Working with screens with different resolutions sometimes brings some challenges, especially with Power Query, but that's fine. We will get there. So with our query work done the last time, this query, for example, starts with the folder where we are placing the reports every month. And then we went through a couple of steps to make sure that we only keep the most recent file. And after that, we did some work with extracting the information from that table, the sales, from that sheet that has the sales information. And that's pretty much what this query does. Maybe if it's smaller. If it is too smaller, then let me know, okay? Just trying to, maybe it doesn't go smaller than this. Okay, let's proceed. Then we also created other queries, one that goes to the employees table and brings from there only the information that we need, the employee code, employee name, and location. Another query that goes to the products table, and from the three columns that we have with separate information about the product, we combined everything into just one column that says product description. So again, imagine that if you had to do this manually every month. We did that programming once with Power Query. The last time, we never need to do it again unless something changes in the data or in the requirements, of course. And so we end up with three columns: product ID, product description, and price. And we also created a separate query that goes to the location, the stores list, and brings us the location code, the location name, and the store manager name. And finally, we combine these four pieces of information into the report that we need. And that is, let me close this. We have the date. We have, maybe we bring, no, it doesn't go smaller. We have the date. We have the product ID. We have so the product code, the product description, quantity, price. Then we added a calculated column that gives us the amount. Knowing the quantity and the price, we multiply these two columns. And then we went to look for the vendors, not the vendor, the sales representative, so the employee who made the sale, and what's the name of that person, what is the store, which is the store where that employee is working from, and who is the store manager for that store. Okay, so that's what we did. And when we finally close and load these queries, we get this table with all the information combined. So it's a lot of progress already at this, just by doing this portion of the business solution that we are building here, because now anyone who comes for the next month, so let's imagine next month, let's go to the sales report. I'm going here to the all reports, and I'm going to pick the report from April and copy. And I'm going to come here, sales reports, place the report there. So now it's the next month, it's April 2020, and we need to run the report, bring the data and combine all the pieces of information for that month. So all we have to do is to click this button, refresh all, after all the work that we've done the last month. And when we click, you can maybe see if something happens here. Let's click now. You see that it updated here, the last report. It's the only one that is loading to the sheet, the worksheet. All the other ones say connection only, because we don't really need to put the information on the spreadsheet. We just want Excel to know about that information and then be able to combine it as our needs, as we need it, and as I explained it to do in the query. So that's what we have now. At the moment, you see that we just 2 seconds or even less, and we have the data for April. In this example, we have just a little bit over 85 rows, and but this would work with thousands of rows if you need that to be. So, but we are in these classes always using small files to make our task here much easier. Okay, so let me know how. So there's Claudia. Claudia there. Hello, Claudia. Claudia is from Portugal, and Nuno is from Portugal as well. I'm glad to see that my home country buddies are joining. Thank you so much. I know it's late there, so it's an honor to have you here. Okay, is everybody aware of what we were doing at that time? Does anyone have any question until now? Because now I just explained the work that we did last time, and from now on we are going to jump into a little bit of VBA. In fact, let me know. Just waiting a little bit to know if there's any questions. Hello from Dublin. Hi, Marco. Nice to have you here today again. Thank you so much for joining and tuning in. Okay, so just to let you know, I'm going very slowly. Teaching VBA, it's not easy. And I'm doing this maybe for the first time, especially live. Building something with VBA is not, for me, it's a process that takes some time. I need to think about that. I think it's the same with every developer. No programming comes straightforward unless it's very, very simple from the beginning. Just to give you a little bit of background about myself and about my journey with Excel in VBA. I started to learn and apply VBA maybe 5 years ago, 2015. I believe it was my first experience with VBA. And then it became, I became a more frequent user of VBA starting in 2016. And I learned VBA, so I don't have a degree in computer science, application development, nothing like that. In fact, my background, for those who don't know, is in mathematics. I was a high school mathematics teacher for a very long time, and so I don't have the technical terms. Don't expect me to bother you with very technical terms. What is a method and what is a property and all that stuff. My purpose here is to help people who are in charge of Excel tasks on a daily basis. My purpose is to help you to start automating your tasks step by step, maybe slowly, so that you can start saving some time for yourself and for your team. Okay, it doesn't make sense that we are spending precious time repeating tasks over and over the same thing. When that day comes that we need to do that same report, we already don't want to get out of the bed sometimes, just thinking about how boring that will be. So my purpose is to using an approach of hands-on on the work, maybe a little bit of trial error. And because I'm going to do this live, you will probably see me doing some mistakes and some errors, and that's fine, because that's exactly what happens in real life. So, and I'll do my best to address all the issues that come up, and we will learn from that. Okay, are you ready? I'm going to let me know if you are. How much of you have used VBA? Let me know in the chat. I used VBA. I never used VBA. I am afraid of using VBA. I know some people don't like it at all. I know I like coding. I like coding. I think it's fun just putting those pieces of the puzzle together. But each one is different and people like different things. So nothing wrong about it. Okay, so I'm going to close this file for now. And going not to save, so it means we will still have the we will still have, oops, let me go here. No, let me go here. We will still have the files from March. The report won't be updated. We will update it again in the end. And I'm going to show you first, before we start, what the result is that we're trying to achieve. I do in a daily basis. I do it, maybe I do it, Marco. Marco is working with VBA in a daily basis. So thank you, Marco, for letting me know. Maybe you can help me if I have some trouble here, okay? Okay, let's see. So this is the purpose now. I have here, it's a copy of the other file, but more evolved because I already have the VBA built in here. And in this case, it was updated for March. And what we want to do is, let me bring up the file explorer here. What we want to do is that here in the reports for managers, the files that we need appear. And the files that we need is to separate, to slice the data that we have here by manager. And since we have for each row the name of the manager, we can know which row goes on each report. And so now I have data for March. Let's imagine I had updated my report, and this is what I want to do. I want to click a button and have the reports appear there. That's it. So for example, if I click the Braden Salisbury, let's see if it opens. It's open here. I have a report that looks like a table, but it's not. It just copied the formatting from the other. We could have make it a table, but I didn't do that. And it has only the rows for Braden Salisbury. In this case, it's 28 rows of data. Okay, let's confirm here in our data if that's the case. So in this case here, we have 28 rows of data. And then we could and should, of course, check, especially when we are developing we just finished developing our solution. It's very important to run different types of checks, checking processes, have another people looking at your results, have another people maybe do the same work manually and compare it with your results. So that, so that everybody becomes confident that the solution is bringing the results that you need. Okay, so I'm going to close this because this is what we are going to build. Who is excited about this? So we have, let me see here, we have, I was not sharing. Was I sharing the file? I did not see anything. Joining late, hoping. Oh my goodness. I have to repeat it then. Yeah. Sorry about that. I was not showing. I'm a newbie. I'm a newbie with lives, so I forgot to change the mode here. Okay, let's do that again. Now you can see I'm going to repeat this. Sorry about that. So let's bring the file again. So I'm going to show you this file. This is the file that already has the macros built. We have data from March there. And the purpose of this is to, in this folder that says reports for managers, we want to come here, and after using Power Query to bring the data, we want just to click this button and have the files showing in there. Done. That's it. All the reports are created. Well, we only have 5 store managers, but it doesn't matter. It could be 5, it could be 100, 500. Only would take a little bit longer, but the programming is exactly the same. Who is excited about this? Now I ask. Let's see the comments here. Can you see it now, Wayne? Still can't see it? But I'm sharing my screen now. Please give me some feedback so that I know if I need to repeat this. And I apologize for the this inconvenience of having to repeat, but I'm learning too. So just counting on you to be patient. Yes, we can see it now. So you did see the demonstration of the files being generated on the side of the Excel file? Let me know. And so the purpose of this is to just create a macro that does this. And if you have a similar situation, even if you don't know VBA, you will be able to create, if you understand the process that we are going to use today with while creating the macro, the code, then you can adjust it just a little piece here and there to match your situation. For example, I'm not going to say what I'm going to do because I want to ask you. Yes, we could see the sample. Thank you, Marco, for your feedback. And Wayne also saying, yes, all good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to delete these files, or we can leave the files. I'm going to delete them so that we can do March, April, and May later. Okay, I'm going to close this file. Oh, before I close, I maybe show you what we are about to do. So if I go to if I click Alt F11, I will open the VBA editor window, and this is what we are about to create. So it's not too much. Maybe says here 70 rows. That's less because there's a lot of blank rows here. So it maybe 50 lines of code, not too much. Okay. And because I'm teaching this to people who are new, some of you are not new, but other people are. Let me stop sharing here the screen. So I was saying while I switch my files that my purpose is to help those of you who are beginning with this type of work. And I'm not going, like I said, I'm not going to be very theoretical about coding, even because that was not the way I learned. So the purpose is to teach you a way that you can start learning a little piece by piece. One of the ways of learning is to use the macro recorder, and that's what we are going to use. We are going to do to start, and then I will have to clean the code, and we will go through all those steps. Okay. So I'm going to open the file as we ended the work last time. Okay, let's see here. Going to maximize only and put only my screen so that everybody can see it well. Okay, so first thing is I'm going to record the macro, and usually my approach is, okay, if I had to do this manually, what would I do? What would I do if I had to do this manually? Let me know what your suggestion is. If we wanted to do this manually, if you had to do this task manually, what would be the steps that you would take to, now that you have the table there, how would you do to create separate files, one for each manager, store manager? And by thing, so this is usually my reasoning. Let me try, this is what I would do manually. So let me organize my steps. Some of the steps I record these days. maybe 30% of my work would be recorded, if that much. Usually record some of the steps that have multiple parameters, so that I don't have to be remembering all of them. But I do a lot of research as well, and I will also teach you that. Let me know what your suggestion is for the steps to do this manually, so that we can use those. We can discuss that a little bit, and then I'll let you know what my approach will be today. There are different ways of doing it. The one I'm doing today, it's probably just the one I think it's easier to understand and requires less Excel skills. There are other ways of doing it, and I will tell you about that in a minute, that I would prefer and I would use if this was something that I had to prepare for a client. But let me know, what would you do then to separate the table by steps? No suggestions? Nobody brave enough to give me a suggestion there? While I wait, I'm also going to tell you, to reinforce something that I mentioned before, which is, that is, be very careful when you are programming. Remember to create backups of your files if you are working with production files. Create backups on the side, so that if you make some mistake with the code, you can put everything back in place. If possible, work with copies of the files instead of the production files. That's the preferable situation. Work on a kind of a new testing environment where you have copies of your real files, or you have mock files, and then you program with that, you test, and only when after everything is confirmed that it's working correctly, you move your files to production. So what do we have here? So Marco is suggesting maybe pivot and then split the data. That is an option. We could create a pivot table and then filter the pivot table by store manager. That could be one option. Then then I would suggest in that case to copy the pivot table and put it separate on a separate file, paste it just the values, not paste the pivot table, or make a copy of the file with the pivot table, because that way we would be sending the complete set of data to everyone, and we may not want that. If we are creating separate files for each sales manager, then most likely we don't want one store manager to see what the results were for the other store manager, another store. So that could be a solution, but I would prefer the VBA to accomplish the job. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about that, about having VBA doing everything. VBA doesn't have to do everything. In fact, it's the other way around. In fact, what we would like to happen possibly would be that to have everyone very knowledgeable about Excel, and having people using the native features and tools in Excel as much as possible, instead of using VBA for that. So if I can do, for example, if I can bring the data by going to data, let me share there my screen. If I can bring the data by going to the data tab and then click the button refresh all, then I should not need to have a button programmed with VBA that does that work. But sometimes if I am preparing this to someone who doesn't know much about Excel, and they only care about getting the information, and then they don't want to learn, they are busy people, that's when we can use VBA to program things that can be done with native tools and built-in tools in Excel. That's my perspective. Other people may think differently, and there are good case scenarios where it's worth to program a lot of things or everything in VBA. We are not going to use that approach here, because then it would take us a long time. We have to do a lot of work sometimes with protecting sheets and protecting. It's another story. Okay, so I'm going to explain my approach, and while I explain, I'm going to start the recording to record the macro. We can record the macro using this button here at the bottom that has a like a circle there that starts the recording, or we can come to the developer tab and click the record macro. If you don't have the developer tab there, what you have to do is to go to File, Options, and then Customize Ribbon. And if I hope I don't forget to share my screen. I didn't forget. And here on the side, you see this that says developer. You need to have this checked up. Okay, if you have this checked up, then you will have the developer tab there. Okay, let me see. So I'm going to maximize my screen, and this will be my approach. So developer, let's record the macro. And it asks me the name of the macro. I'm going to call it manager reports. We cannot use spaces in the name of the macro, and just click OK. And now we are recording. We can see that we have the stop icon here for when we want to click to stop the recording. And what I'm going to do is the following. I'm going to create a new workbook. Come here, new workbook. I'm going to go back to my previous file, and I want to make sure, for one thing that we need to make sure is to clear the filters. We don't have filters here applied. We will come back to this again later at the end of the macro solution. And we are going to filter this table by store manager. To start my programming, I'm going to just choose one. And then in the end, I'm going to amend my code to make it loop through the list and repeat the same thing over and over for each one of the store managers. So for now, let's use Braden Salisbury, who is the first name there. So we would get this table, and then we could come here, or in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click somewhere here, and I'm going to do Control-Shift**. And what this does is it selects the current region, so all the region around my data. In this case, and this will happen all the time. I mean, every situation you need to choose a way of doing things that is suitable for what you have. So I'm assuming that there are no empty columns, empty rows, because if there were, this current region wouldn't work. Okay, and then what we are going to do is to copy. Then we go to the blank file, we go to A1, and we are going to paste special. We are going to paste the values. Going to do this, and now right click again, and I'm going to paste the formats. Okay, another thing to leave this file more presentable and pleasant to whoever is going to receive it is I can maybe auto-fit the columns so that we have everything visible, and then I can maybe come to A1 instead of A2, A1, and select the file there. Then I'm going to save the file. And I need to choose where I'm going to save the file. So I'm going to choose more options. I'm not going to use the OneDrive. And this is the folder where we are. We need to go to the folder Reports for Managers. That's where I want to place. And now I need to give a name to my file. And the name I'm going to give to my file will be the year that we will have to find a way of determining the year, dash, and then the month, underscore, and then the manager name. In this case, if I wanted to do this, I would corresponding to the manager I'm using, we are filtering for, it would be Braden Salisbury, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, so let's go and do save. Okay, and finally, I have my file saved here with the name that I need. I'm going to just close the file. I can go there, or I can come here, file close. Where's close? It's over here. Okay, and then I come back to my original file and I clear the filtering, and that's it. And now I would be ready to start everything all over again for the next store manager name, correct? So I've done what I need. I taught Excel, this is what I need you to do. I'm going to stop the recording. Another thing is here, let me, do we have, no. I'm going to stop the recording, that's it, okay. I wanted to tell you something about here. In the developer tab, I'm not using use relative references. Okay, we can talk about, because the other the class would be too long today, but we can talk about the difference between using relative references or not on another day. But for today, just keep in mind, I did not press this. It's not selected. Okay. Okay, so next thing now is to look at our macro and see what we got and amend until we have everything that we need. We can come to developer and click Visual Basic, or we can do Alt F11. It brings us here, and we select here where it says modules, module 1, and inside module 1 that I could even give a name here. I could call it monthly reports or something like that for the module name, just to know what's inside. And here we have all the steps that we recorded. Every time we record a macro, it starts with sub manager reports and parentheses open and close, and it ends with end sub. That's the beginning and the end of the code. I can delete this. So every time we put a single quote, it means it will be interpreted as a comment, so it would not be run as code. So that's the way we have to add code, to add comments. Is it? Can you see clear enough? Let me know if for any reason we have I can try to put it a little bit bigger here. Options, and in here, maybe I can put it a little bit bigger. It doesn't help much. But I hope you can see it good enough. If not, let me know and I can zoom in a little bit. Okay, so what we have to do now is to understand what was recorded and to work with this code. I'm worried that this shows a little bit too small. Let me see if I can make it bigger for you. Let me see if I can work like this so that it's easier for you to see what's going on if you are watching from a small device. Okay, so first thing was we created a new book, and it says workbooks add. So we created a new book, workbook, Excel workbook. We will need to refer to this workbook a few times. So I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to call it new book. So I'm going to say set new book equal to workbooks add. So from that moment, from this moment on, I can refer to when I say new book, Excel knows that I'm referring to that new workbook that was created. You can see here at the top that it says option explicit. This is something that may not appear the first time you open your Excel VBA editor, but this is an option that I recommend you to have enabled. To do that, come to tools there. Just a little bit struggling here with the zoom. Tools, and then where it says options, not macros. Here, make sure that you have that second require variable declaration. Make sure you have the second check mark on, okay? Because that will, and that what that will do is that every time you create a macro, it puts option explicit at the top automatically so that you don't forget about it. And what it does is it forces you to declare all the variables. And that means you need to tell Excel what every new word that you put here as a variable, you need to tell it what it is, what type of variable that is. So for example, we added new book as a new variable. So I need to come here and say dim is the expression used in VBA to say to do the declaration, and we say new book as workbook. And when you start typing here, it has a little bit of IntelliSense to help you with what you need. Okay. Now we are going to switch information between the sales data. Let's go back here to remember what we have here. We have a table called data, this sheet here, and we are going to switch information between this sheet and the other one. So I'm going to also give a name to this sheet. I'm going to say, I'm going to declare data sheet, and I prefer to use long names for variables to help me understand very easily what it is than to use just kind of initials. And then next time we come, we don't really remember what that means. But that's my preference. So data sheet as a worksheet. Okay, so now we told the programming, a data sheet is a worksheet. From now on, remember that. And so what have we here in the steps? Windows, so we activated one window when we switched from one workbook to the other. We don't need that. And then we selected E5 and we created the filter. Don't really need the E5, but so we don't need that. I need to tell Excel that this active sheet is the data sheet, okay? I don't need to really activate it. Well, I will have to activate it maybe later, but let's say, so set data sheet equals to this workbook and inside this workbook, look at the sheets, and we now could refer to the sheets by a number or the name. I'm going to use the name approach. It's easier to understand. Has advantages and disadvantages, but it's an easier one, I think, for everyone who's starting. So, okay, so now we have that we said new book is the book that you open new. Data sheet means the sheet where we have our data. And what we need to do is with the active sheet that in fact we can say, I'm going to Control-C, copy here. We can say with this data sheet, doesn't need to be active at the moment. List objects refers to the tables. Sales final let me show you where that sales file comes from. If I click here, table design, sales final is the name of the table, okay? And when we refer to the entire table, we refer to it as sales final. We can also refer to the range of the data like sales final in between quotes. Okay. So let's go back to our code. Okay, so we filtered the table. That's what it says here. Then we selected A3 with, and then from A3, we said, give me the current region. Let me see. I hope it's not too small. Let me put a little bit bigger here. Okay. So from range, and now we were it, and it's not clear here in the code, but we were in the data sheet. Okay. And if we don't say anything to VBA, if I say just range A3, VBA will assume that can you see it? Can you see it well? Because let me confirm that you can see. When I zoom in, can you see it well? Can you please give me that feedback? Because I'm working here with two screens, and when I magnify, I have a little bit of struggle here. Let me know if you can see the code correctly when I'm zooming in. It would be great if I can get that feedback from you, okay? Okay, I'm assuming that it's coming up correctly for you. Let me go back to full screen, maybe like that. Okay, so I was saying that if I just say range A3 in VBA, it will assume that I'm referring to the last sheet activated. And in fact, the last sheet activated, if we see, it was new book. We added a new book that opens in sheet 1. So we may need to do some work here, okay? So what we can do is to make sure that this range refers to what we want, and instead of A3, I am going to say A1, because A3 may not have any data there, but A1 always has the table header. I'm going to say that this range A1 belongs to the data sheet. So I'm going to say data sheet, that is the data with my, it's a worksheet that has my data dot, and then inside that data sheet, I want to refer to the range, and what the macro recorded was, it selected that cell. But so that we don't have to be repeating data sheet, and then, so every time if we are doing a few operations in the same place, then we can just opt by doing it once, writing it once. And what we can do is we can come here and say with data sheet, I want to do several things, and this dot comes below. And all these two rows are one operation only. And when it gets too big for the screen, it puts a dash there at the top, at the end. So for those of you who are not, never did this, what this means is in fact this. This is only one line of code that refers to the filtering, and it's getting red. Because there was a space missing there. Sorry about the trouble here with seeing what we need. Okay, so this is the complete line of code, okay? That dash only means that the code was not fitting one row and it's skipping to the next row. Okay, so let me maybe zoom out a little bit so that we get some perspective. Okay, I am with datasheet. I filtered my data. And what it is list objects refers to the table, and then it says the range of all the data in that table, auto filter, using on field 10 the criteria of filtering by Braden Salisbury, which was the manager name that we used. Let's go and see what that field 10 is. So if we count our columns, store manager column J is exactly column 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's the way VBA records, speaks to the table when we are, so I have here, when we are programming, it can, the filtering, auto filter criteria is applied by the number of the column, okay? So let's go back to our code. So we said with datasheet, the table filter by that name, we will have to replace this later by something else. And then instead of saying datasheet again, I don't need to do that. And what I do is just say datasheet, with datasheet, also go to range A1 and select that. And then with selection, well, I don't need to select and then say with the selection. I can delete this and just say with range A1, get me the current region and select the current region. And also, again, I don't need to select that and then copy. I can just go back and put this together with that. So I can current region, copy, okay? All good, Celia, says Nuno. Going to just check your comments here. Thank you, Nuno, because I'm a little bit worried that people cannot see it very well. Hopefully the next sessions I'll be able to find a better method to make what's going on the screen bigger so that everyone can see it well, even in small devices. Let's go step by step, okay? So then we went to Windows Workbook, Book 1 Activate. Remember that Book 1 was the new book. And then we selected. So now if we are switching to the other book, I need to close this sequence here that I said with datasheet, and now I need to put end with, okay? Because I'm done with operations that I need to do at the moment in the datasheet. So now let's go and switch to new book. I'm going to copy this. And in the new book, I'm going to activate it. Well, maybe I don't need to activate, but I want to put something in range A1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put here with new book, no need to activate for now. And I want to say, and I need to put the dot. When I put this dot, I'm saying it refers to the new book. It doesn't refer to the data sheet or any other sheet, okay? So with the new book, range A1, select and then paste, selection paste. I can just put this all together in one row and say, with new book, range 1, paste special, going to give it a tab so I know this is part of the row at the top. So here, paste special with paste equal to Excel paste values. This means this is all the code generated to paste values from cell A1. And then I need to repeat this again, or I could just do another with, but I'm not going to do this now. I'm going to say range A1 as, again, paste special, and paste the formats. Okay, and I don't need to worry more about this other. I have operation none, skip blanks false, transpose false. These are the options when we are doing, if we are using the feature paste special in Excel. These are different options that we have there and that VBA records by default this way, and we can just use it like that, okay? Do not worry about that. And then end with, no, not end with, we are not done with the new book. Then inside the new book, still, So I need to put a dot here to say this is still inside the new book. Let's move it over a little bit. Columns A to J, select the columns, and then with columns A to J, entire column, I don't need to select them. I just need to say these columns, entire column auto fit. This was when we auto adjusted the width of the columns. And then we went to range A1, selected that, just because it's nice to send the files with cell A1 selected so that when people open the file, they are right there in the first cell. Then we have this row of code here that says application copy, cut copy mode false is when we end up with, we finish the copy, we are not selecting the range that was being copied anymore. And then we have this row that we don't really need, is just saying where the folder, the directory is, where I'm going to save it, but I need to repeat that information here. I'm going to select all this. I'm going to give it a tab. So it switches. You see that I'm aligning it's called indenting my code. If I do this, if I move over all the instructions that belong to the same set of code, in this case, all the instructions that are being applied to the new book are aligned a little bit more to the right, so that it's easier for anyone coming later to watch to see the code, to understand what's going on. I'm going to try to put it a little bit bigger. Let me know if there's any problems. Okay, so inside the book, I pasted the information, I adjusted the columns, I selected the first cell, and deactivated the copy paste mode, cut copy paste, and now I'm going to save it. So the active workbook, that I don't really need to say active workbook because I'm inside. What happened here? I'm inside this portion that says new book. So I'm still new book. We know that it's where we are applying this information, and then it recorded all the complete folder where I went to find the reports for managers. Okay, and cannot being able to go to the right just a little bit more. Just be patient, bear with me here. And that's the name of the complete name of the file. So we have finally it came up here. Okay, let's see if it's useful at all. So we have the complete file path here to the folder. Here, this is the folder, and then the rest is the name of the file and the extension. So we need all that when we are saving the file. Again, this dash means that the instruction is not over here, and I don't like when it puts the comma separate, so I prefer to put the comma here, and then maybe that we need to leave a space before this dash for continuance of the code on the next row. And then it says file format, Excel open. So this is saving, this is information that tells VBA to save the workbook as an XLSM, not XLSM, XLSS workbook. Do not create a backup. Again, this is those default parameters when we are saving a file. We could delete some of these parameters, but we can just leave it there and not worry about this. We are saying do not save with automatic backup. That's fine. Okay, so we will have to do some work here in the end, because we don't want the file to be named year, month, manager name for everyone. We need this to be dynamic later, okay? We will get there. And then active workbook, that was the new book, close. So this still is an instruction that still belongs to the new book. I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to say include this in that with block. Just going to delete here one row. Okay. And I'm going to finish and with here. Range A3 select active sheet. So now we went back to to the other file. Okay, so now we went to datasheet, and in that sheet we selected a range. Maybe we don't need to do this. We just need to say show all data. We will have to talk about this at the end. The filtering sometimes is a little bit challenging, but that's all for now. Application window, we don't need this. It's just maximizing, minimizing the windows. So let me save this. And now when I'm going to save, look what happens. It tells me, well, now you have a macro. You cannot have this workbook saved as an XLSS because that doesn't hold macros. So, okay, do you want to continue saving as a macro free workbook? Click yes. No, I need to say no. And I'm going to save it in the same folder, just going to switch the extension to XLSM, okay, and save. So this is quite a lot of work so far. I left the comment. I'm so newbie at this. I left Nuno comment there all the time. Hope it didn't bother you in the screen. So how is everybody over there? Is everybody still following up? How are you liking? Let me know. Don't let me here speaking by myself all the time, okay? Counting on you. So what we need to do now is to make this work for a loop, make this looping so that it goes through all the store manager names and does the same thing, repeats the same thing for everyone. Okay, so I'm looking at my notes here to see if I didn't forget anything. And let's see. So let's go back to our code. No answers from that side. I'm so sad here. Nobody talks to me. So, okay, so we did save as, show all data. So now it's time maybe to test this. Let's test this and see if this code is good enough without errors. One of the things we can do is we can come up here in the debug tab and choose compile Vba project. It's not giving me any error. It doesn't mean that everything will work well, but for now it's not detecting any error. Let me go do, that's not what I wanted to do. Let me put this, come on. It's not, wanted to put this to that half of the screen, but for some, maybe it's, let me come back here. Okay, let me try with Excel. And let me one more try. Okay, now it's working. That's not what I want. One more try. Oh, goodness. That's not helpful. Let's do again. What I want is the VBA code. It's this one. Okay, finally. We could close this, but I like to keep that handy there. So what we are going to do is to test our code row by row. I'm going to maybe put this a little bit smaller so that we can see what it's doing. And the way we have to test our code is to apply step by step. And to do that, that's not a good idea. This is not working well. Let me take the zoom out. I haven't received any complaints. So I'm assuming you are seeing well, but maybe later someone will complain watching from a mobile device. Okay, if we click the key F8, it runs the code step by step, and we can check what each step is doing. Okay, so the first two rows, they are skipped because they are just variable declaration. And then we said the first one creates the workbook. See the workbook appear there. And now we explain what datasheet means. It doesn't have to do anything. And then we say with datasheet, go to the table and filter the table in column 10 by criteria Braden Salisbury. So every row that has this value in column 10. When we move to the next step is when that line of code is applied. And we see that it was filtered there. Then we copy the current region. Okay. And then we moved on to the new workbook. And in range A1, we are pasting. Oh, it's not working. Okay, so let's see what's working, what's not working well here. Let's see if I discover with, let's see if I discover what's not working well here. Just give me a second. I'm going to open my code here so that we don't have to wait too much time, because under pressure is difficult to think. So we need to select, we need to select before we paste. Okay, so range A1, select, and it's going to stop the code. That's fine. Range A1 select, and that's a dot missing there. When it becomes red, means that something is not correct in that line of code. And then with selection, so some of the things can be applied without selecting, other things cannot. So select, and then in that selection, apply paste special values and paste special formats. You see, so it didn't detect any errors when I debugged, but some of the errors are not captured when we are compiling. Okay, so let's try again and see if we have any errors. So F8, we created, oh, I should have closed that other one. We will close it in a minute. Table, we filter the table. I should have unfiltered it as well, but that's fine. And then still the error. What's going on now here? With new, oh, I need to tell the sheet here. I forgot to mention the sheet. Okay, so that's why. So probably I didn't need to select that. That was the error. I didn't see it correctly. So let's go. New workbook, sheets. In the new workbook, sheets, the sheets don't have any name at that point except sheet 1, sheet 2, etc. So sheets 1. Let's try to uncomment this so that we see if the code that I had put before was correct. So I was saying, and this is all patience that we need to have. That's all. The coding is about patience and persistence. So I understand not everyone may be interested in not everyone likes that. So, but I do like it. So let's try again. F8, F8, F8. Again, open. Let me stop and do this properly. Let me close these workbooks and unfilter so that we see that everything is being done correctly from the beginning. Let's come here. Data clear. Okay, so we are ready to start. Let me save. And let's start our testing again. So F8, F8, F8. We open the workbook. Now we are filtering the table. We are copying. You see that we have the little, it's called, some people call it the marching ants there, selecting the region. And then we go to the new workbook, sheets 1, range A1, and then paste the values. There we go, and paste the format. And then with columns, let me bring this to here. Let me go back. And then with columns AJ, Autofit, find the width. And then we select range A1. and then we take out cut copy mode, and now we are going to save the file. Let me go back to that because I have the file there and it will complain saying that the file already exists. So now we come here and let's say if it creates the file there, let's select here F8. It created the file there. Now it's going to close the workbook. It didn't work. Why is that? Because you see, you remember that I added the sheet here. I cannot close a sheet. This, and then I need to, what I need to do is to cut this. So here ends with what I have to do with the sheet in the new workbook. And now I can put new book dot close. Okay, that's what we want to do. So let's go F8, now close. And now let's go to the data sheet and show all data. And that's it. So, and then finally F8 again, and it closes. Let me know, how are you feeling about this? Now, while I close here some files, let me check what you're saying. Good stuff. Learning a lot, looking forward to working through it more slowly. Yes, for sure. It needs time and patience. Don't despair about it. From the recording, will the example files be made available for download? Yes. Yes, Wayne, I intend to make the files available. I'm still preparing some kind of way of making the files available for everyone. I would like to have some kind of interaction with people that are following this work. So I'm not sure how I'm going to, but I will find a way of sending the files to you by email, or providing the files for you somehow. If not today, tomorrow, under the video description, let me stop sharing a little bit here. Tomorrow, under the video description, both this video and the past one, I'll have something there from where you can download the files and practice. Okay, because I know that practicing without having the data, it's difficult if you have to create the data first. So for sure, excuse me, I'm going to make those available for you. Okay, let's go back. So far we were able to program everything for one person only. But there's something that didn't go quite well, and let me show you what. So we went through everything. The file was created, and now let's check the file that we got. Let's open this file. We were supposed to get the file with data for Braden, Salisbury only, but we didn't get that. We got everything. And why was that? The problem is that when we say here copy, we despite the fact that we have some, so at that moment we had some rows hidden, but when we say copy, Excel copies everything in that range and doesn't care if the rows are hidden or not. So what we have to do, and this will come with practice, and what you need to do is to remember Google is your friend. Google, Edge, whatever browser you want to use. Okay, let me put my face here. Always remember that. It's not coming up. Well, something is not working on my screen there. So I wanted to tell you, Google or any other browser that you use always is your friend. You find a challenge, you find a mistake, just Google, search for an answer. Most likely there will have been someone somewhere who has posted about that same issue or a similar one, from where you can take some clues, some tips, and fix your own issue. Okay. And that's how I solve a lot of the problems. It's looking for conversations on Excel forums or looking into blogs. And there has been a lot of generous people around along the time posting content out there that can help us. So it's all about knowing what are you looking for and knowing how to ask to find an answer to your question. Okay, and so what we have to do is, let me take the comment out. I keep forgetting taking the comments out. Okay, and let's go. And so here, where we have copy, here where we have copy, we need to, before copy, say something else. To, let me put this there, it's going to complain, that's fine. And I need to say give me the special cells. And inside the special cells, we have different options, and I want to copy only the cell type visible. That's what I need to do. And then after I specify this, then I copy. Okay, so I'm going to range A1, select all the region from there, but then copy only from that current region, only the cells that are visible at the moment. And those would be the ones that resulted from the filtering. Okay. Okay, so let's try this again and see if now we have, let me save. See if we now get the correct file. Let's delete this. And instead of going F8, 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 we can do F5 or just click this play button here. Oh, yeah, and that's another thing that we will have to work on. That's this last one. That's fine. I'm going to just move this over for now, but I mentioned that we had to do something with the filtering after. That's fine. F8 to finish. So we have a mistake, something to solve here. And this is because this show all data when we have data filtered, the filters can be applied to the sheet or can be applied to the table, and the instructions are a little bit different. And so we need to make sure to have our data unfiltered when we start the macro, and make the macro pay attention if there are filters available, if applied or not. Anyways, we will talk about that in the end. What we need to do now is just to make sure that it copied the correct values. So let's open here. And now we do have a file with just the 28 rows that we had for Braden Salisbury. So it seems to be working well now, correctly. Okay. So now we have some work to do. We still need, this is only working for Braden, and we need to make this work for everyone. So we need to find a way to tell it where to find the different criteria, the different values for the criteria of filtering. When we are filtering here in the store manager column, we need to tell it where to find the names to put in the filtering criteria. Okay. And so where can we do that? Let me put this bigger now. Let me clear the filter. We will have to deal with that issue later. And do you remember we had a table that had information about, that had the sales manager names? It was the stores query. In the end, I'm not sure if this can go over there. In the end, we get this table here with the store manager at the end. Okay. The problem is that this table is not loading to the sheet, is a connection only. So we can come here and do load to, and here we will say load to a table on a new worksheet and say okay. And this will load our table, stores table, to a new worksheet. Okay. I will need to tell the code to go through these cells here in this column. So I need to find a way to refer to this column. One way could be, say, range C2 to C6, but then if the number of managers change more or less, then especially if they are more, then I'll be leaving someone behind. So one of the tricks that I usually use for this is to come here to formulas, name manager, and simulate that I am creating a named range for this column. I go new, and here I'm going to say select, not this one, select the column, and you see how it refers to the range. It's the name of the table that is named after the query, and then in between square brackets is the name of the store manager. So I'm going to copy this, okay? You can do Control-C, or you can come here and copy. It's difficult to work with the Zoom. So I'm going to cancel this. And let's go back. I'm going to close these. I don't need to create that name. I just wanted you to find a way to, until you get used to the name of, to the way of referring to columns in tables, to find a way, an easy way to help you with that. And so what we are going to do is, this sheet here, we can call it maybe stores, I think it was that I used. Let me check here. Yes, let's rename this sheet as stores. We can put it maybe to the right of the other sheet. And we have our data and our store. Let me save before it has some kind of panic attack here. And now let's create our loop. I can close the queries here. Alt F11 brings up the VBA editor. And now let's finish. I don't want that. I'm just wanting to do this a little bit. In fact, I don't need that, but anyways. So let's finish our code here. So we say the new book is something, is a workbook that you create new, and the sheet is the data sheet is where you have the data. And then you need to filter, but you filter by the manager name. So before this, we need to say what the manager name is. Okay. So let me think. What we are going to do is, before we filter, we say for each, and let's call manager cell, for each manager cell that we have in that range. Let me fix that there, the name there. For each manager cell in this workbook, and the workbook is where we have the macro located. So this workbook sheets, inside the workbook you need to look for sheets, and inside the sheets you need to look for a sheet called stores. And there, then we go inside that, we need to look at the range, and this is where what we copied comes. We don't need this equal sign there. We cannot put it there. The ranges are in between double quotes and then close parentheses there. And so we are saying for each manager cell in that range, that is the column in that table for the stores. Note that we introduced something new here, manager cell. So I'm going to say copy, and some people prefer to declare the variables as they are used throughout the code. I prefer to declare them at the top, but that's a preference. So declare manager cell as range. So this is cell is a range, right? So that's the type for that. And for each manager cell, the value that is in that cell will give us the manager name, right? So that's what we are going to tell Excel to do, to tell VBA to do. I'm going to declare another variable here. I'm going to call it manager name. And manager name, declare manager name as a string. So it's a piece of text, okay? And so let's go back to where we were. We were here. Again, if you don't see it well, please let me know, okay? I'm worried. Let me put it a bit bigger and let me see if I can work like this. So for each manager cell in this workbook, sheets stores that range. I'm going to call manager, and if we have declared the variable there, that's one of the advantages of declaring. I have manager name there declared at the top. I can start typing it and then go control space, and it auto-completes. Manager name will be the manager cell dot value, okay? So whichever value is in the manager cell, this is the string that I will use as manager name, okay? And now we need to come here and, sorry, I need to zoom out a little bit and then I'll come back if needed. So we need to come here, and where we are using Braden Salisbury, it won't be Braden Salisbury all the time. It will be the manager name that we captured from that manager cell. So I take this string out and put that variable. And I don't put between quotes because the manager name is a variable that will hold the string inside of it after we pass through that step there over there, okay? Because all this is done inside the loop that starts here for each manager cell, I'm going to select everything that we need to do and do tab. And this moves everything over to the right a little bit so that we tap space so that we have this more organized. Okay. So we went through the column, we picked up one cell, we picked up the manager name from there, and then we filtered the table and we apply the manager name when we are filtering column 10. And at the end, we can already do this. We know that at the end, I'm going to need the manager name here. So you see that all this is all in between double quotes. I'm going to take this portion out here. I'm going to put double quotes, double quotes. I'm going to put ampersand, ampersand to concatenate. And now I'm going to put name manager here. And I need to put spaces here. Let's see if it likes it like that. Now it likes it like that. So what I'm saying is the name of the file is all this path and something that we still need to figure out for here. And then the manager name and then the extension. Okay, and the format, everything is solved there. Now, for the file name, we need to figure out the year and the month, because these will be different from month to month, okay? How can we get that? One of the ways we can get it is assuming that we have data all the time in cell A1. If not, I'm not going to do this because the class is becoming quite long, but imagine that when we filter for a certain manager name, there were no sales, and so therefore there's no data there in A1, A2. In that case, we would have to say if the cell is empty, then move on to the end and skip this manager. And move over. So move to the next manager. That's something that we could program in the first piece, the first steps of the macro, or right after we filter the table. That would be the appropriate moment to do this. Okay, so let me bring up the editor. So we need to figure out the year and the month for each report. Okay, so let's declare report, cannot have spaces, report year also as string, and report month as string. Okay, so we have the variables declared. Where can I find them? Right after I don't need to do this every time I filter the table for each manager. I can do that before I start the loop, because I just need that once. It's the same for all the managers. So before we start the loop for each manager, I am going to here select, look at range A2 of this data sheet, and extract the value from there. Okay, so the report here report, if I go control space, gives me the rest of this expression. Control year is in the data sheet range A2, and the value of that range. Okay, and although it's a number, the year, it's a number, I'm declaring it as a string, so then it converts that number to a string. So it looks at it as being text. The report month is a similar thing. So instead of year, I can put month here. Oh, and it's not correct. So I look at the range value, and from that I extract the year. That's this piece here is missing. Okay. And the month is the same thing, but with month. So the value is a date. The value in that cell is a date. When I apply month to read from a date, it extracts the month from that date, and then I keep only that number. Another thing that I will do here, and we could test these in the end, but I'm going to speed up that process, is if I go and do month of data sheet range 2, in this case the month is number 3. If I want the file name to have the 0, then I need to say, well, this month needs to come in the format of, so that value, give me the value in format 00, means with 2 digits, and if the first one does not exist, make it a 0. Okay, so we have the report year, we have the report month. So now we can replace, I'm going to copy from here. We can come here at the end when we save the file. We have up to year. Here we have the folder path. Now we go and concatenate with our variable that we called report year. Then we concatenate with a dash So it's a string, needs to be in between double quotes. And then we concatenate with the report month value. And finally, we concatenate with underscore. And finally, the name manager. Let me put this. So because it's getting too long, we can come here and put an underscore, enter, and Excel understands that the code for the semi-instruction continues in the next line and then has another break there. Okay, so all these, if I click here, it's a way of debugging my code and selecting a certain it's putting a stop. If I'm debugging the code, it will stop there. Anyways, you see if I click one row and it selects the 4 because all the 4 belong to the same instruction. Okay, so we have the path of the folder, and then we put the value of the year, the report year that we extract from A2, then we put a dash, then we put the month, then we put an underscore, and then we put the manager name, and then we put the file extension. And this will compose the name of each file that will be different for each manager because the manager name will change. Wow, this is getting late and the big a long class. Let me know if you have any questions or any comments. We're almost done. Let me know if you have any questions, okay? I hope everybody is still awake in there. Now, finally, I think we are almost ready to debug, and then we need to deal with that filtering issue. What we still need to do, so we started a for here. For each manager, do this, save the file. This here belongs to that workbook. And then new workbook close, then do this. And now we finish. So next manager cell. And what this does is it will go to the next manager cell, next manager cell, next manager cell until the range. It goes through the entire range that we said that where the cells were. Okay. And of course, I put my screen too small. So what I did was I just entered this row here to close the for loop that starts there. And we can test this. And then we need to, another thing is the new workbook here. We need to create a new workbook for each manager. So I'm going to cut this row from here, and we get the manager name. Then, for example, here we can start add a new book, then we copy, then we paste. The reason why I don't add the new book here is because I'm not sure if it will eliminate the copy after I select copy. So, but you can try adding the new workbook there and see if it works as well. Okay, let me save. Let's bring up our folder here, and let's see if I can get this to the side. Okay. And we have our folder, our file explorer there. And maybe I'm going to skip before testing. Let me just add the rows that we need to add at the beginning. So like I said, the auto filter is a little bit tricky. Let me already put this instead of running different testing procedures. In the beginning, where we say with datasheet and we filter, it may happen that someone has the table filtered already. And sometimes people apply filtering on the sheets, filtering on the table. So I'm going to make this, and it may, depending on the situation, this may not be enough, but it will give you at least a solution for you to try and apply. And if you run into trouble with the filters, let me know, and I can indicate, tell you more, give you some more details, but this should be enough. So after we select the sheet, we say with data sheet, show all data. That's exactly what we have at the bottom. Okay. Sometimes, because we are in fact applying this to the table, sometimes it gets a little bit tricky here. So what we can also do is say with the table, which is the list objects sales final. Let me copy this. With the table, the auto filter show all data. And do not worry if you don't understand everything today. If you are just starting with this type of work, then you will learn step by step the same way I did. And because if this works, this does not work, and if this works, that one won't work. Anyways, one of these steps may create an error. So what we say is, on error, something went wrong with my connection here. Please, if you are watching, let me know in the chat if that you can hear me okay. I hope this is still recording. And so I'm going to continue. If I have to repeat it in the end, then I'll do it. Okay, so let me share my screen as well. Let me put up my screen up. I'm not sure if anyone is watching or not. Let me know. Something happened. Now you are back. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Wayne. Yes, something went wrong with my connection, but luckily it didn't disconnect from YouTube. So we are still able to continue, and we are almost done. So on error, what we need to do is say, if you get an error here, just resume next. And so try this, try that. And after this, if you get an error, you have to let me know. So go to 0. That's what it means. Okay, I need to know the error number. If you get an error, I need to know. Don't skip errors from now on. Just skip an error in these 2 rows. And that's it. Let's see. Moment of truth. Let's see if I didn't forget anything. Let's debug, compile. Everything seems okay. Let's save. Let me put this to the side there. Let us, oh, come on. My shortcuts somehow are not working very well today. Let us put the folder there, maybe there at the top. And now we should get a number of different files, one for each manager. let's try the code. I'm going to do one F8, F8. So one slowly, and then we can skip and do the other ones in a row. Okay. So let's go F8, F8, F8. We got the manager name. So if we hover on top of the variable, we know that it's looking at Luca at the moment. Probably the table is not sorted. And we copy. Then we go to the new workbook. We paste values and formats, and we adjust, and then we save the file, and we have the file. See the name of the file? Year dash month underscore name of the manager. And now we close the workbook, and now we unfilter everything, clear all data, and now we go and restart all over again. So now the name manager will be Garrison. So if I go F5 now, we see the files opening and closing. One way of avoiding that, and that's the final touch to our macro, is to come here at the beginning and say application dot screen updating equal false. So from starting now, do not update the screens, and this can also help to run your macro faster when we have a lot of code. And then here true, so that we can have our screens. If we don't put it back to true, then we are doing things in Excel and we don't see any changes because it's not updating the screens. Finally, we can put a message box just to let people know that the process is complete, and maybe do just that. That's the simplest one. You can go with more complex text, and we can add a title and so forth, but let's leave it like that today. We could put all the manager reports are generated. Okay, so let's try our solution from the beginning. Let's test our files, and let's also put the button there. So let's check our files. Braden's file. That's it. It's correct. Only has Braden's rows from our data. And then Garrison Cooper, same thing. So all the sheets, all the workbooks seem to have been correctly generated. We can close this. And then finally, so that we don't have to be opening our workbook, we can come to developer, and we can insert a button. We could also do this with a shape. Going to just, because we are filtering all the time, going to leave it very narrow there at the top. Manager, we need to select the macro we want. That's the only one we have. And then we can rename the caption of the button. So we can say manager reports, for example. Not enter. Let me make it a little bit bigger. We can maybe do this like that. Right click, because if you click it, you will run the macros. Okay, so finally save, and let's test our solution from the beginning. Remember we had March data. So let's go to our folder where we have all the reports and pick up, let's copy the April data, put it in the sales reports. Oh, we have April there. I had put it there before. So do not worry, I'm here. I didn't go away. It's just my screen that its background is black. So let's go. First thing we need to do is to update our data. We just need to come data, refresh all. We have now our data for April. And now we do, let me put this on the side, because it's always nice to watch the files appear there. We go manager reports, and oh, it didn't, sorry, we didn't see it appear because I was in the wrong folder. Reports for managers, that's the one. And now we got our files there, and that's it. We are done. So it took us about 2 hours, and I am explaining everything step by step. So it would take us, it would take me less time, and maybe half of the time or so to do this. If you are, even if it takes you double of the time, imagine, or even triple, if you are still learning and finding issues on your developing stage. Can you imagine the time that you will be saving once you have that this information working? Can you imagine? Can you imagine if you were doing, let me put this back to there. I'm doing everything kind of weird here. Can you imagine if you were doing everything manually every month? So you program this once, and you can take care of the Power Query part 1 month, and then the other month take care of the VBA part. And once you're done, you can breathe, and you don't have to worry about having those files, having that procedure bother you every time you think you need to repeat all over again manually. You will save time to a lot of people. You can generate the files. By generating the files automatically, we create file names that are consistent. And later, let's imagine, for example, if I wanted to automate sending these files by email, I can also do that in Excel. And because the files were generated by a consistent procedure, it's easy to find the correct file for the correct person and attach it to an email, for example. That's it. So let me know what you think. Let me know if you found value in the class. If you are watching this class after it went live and you are watching the record, I do appreciate if you leave me the comments below the video to let me know how was the screen size, because if it's showing too small, I'll have to work on a solution for that. Let me know what you think of the content, of the length of the class, if this works for you or not. And the more feedback I get from you, the easier it will be to improve new classes in the future. I have a lot that I can tell you, that I can teach you. I'm willing to continue that if you are interested in learning things that I've been learning along the time. I'm happy to share. Okay, let me know. And let me see if there's any comments here. So Wayne was mentioning that I went kind of a blackout there, and then I came back. Yeah, I don't know what happened. Something went wrong here with my internet connection. I need to figure out what happened here. Any other comments? Any other questions before we end up the class today? Let me know. I know there's a little bit of lag. I'll wait for a little bit. If there's no comments or questions, I'll finish the class for today. Otherwise, let me know. And so the expectation, the plan is to continue to generate at least one class every week, if possible two, but at least one class every week. So Wayne is saying here, very useful. Thanks so much for sharing your knowledge. Looking forward to the sample files and building it myself. Yes, I'm even putting a post-it here so I don't forget. And making sure that the files are posted and made available for you before tomorrow. By tomorrow morning, you should have them. Well, tomorrow morning for me, I'm not sure for everyone else. Awesome presentation. Thank you. Yes, so I'm learning. I'm learning to present online. There's a lot of things to pay attention to. So thank you for your patience, for your understanding. And I'm sure that I will learn to get Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me today, and we'll see you soon.